FEST-A-THON-A-PALOOZA-A-THON! All right, big intro.
Hey, Seminole State family. It's Nicole from the library. Thanks for joining us today. We, of course, have...
Hi, I'm Ross. How are you?
Hi, I'm Information Jason, and Nicole's here, and we're all here. Yay! We can start the show, Graham.
Ooh. Okay, so, and if I don't know if anyone's noticed yet, you know what? I'm not going to mention it. We'll see if someone comes on, watches, and notices. Yes, today I'm you know what I'm talking about. All right, today. Citation, EXAMPLE-FEST-A-THON-A-PALOOZA. This is not trademarked. It's not registered in the patent office or whatever. Okay, please don't steal it. We like it. Maybe someday in the future we'll have a, I don't know, what else could we do an EXAMPLE-FEST-A-THON-A-PALOOZA for? Like,
I think we should start with what we have now and then build big. We're on a good track here.
I'm dreaming about the future. Okay.
EXAMPLE-FEST-A-THON-A-PALOOZA.
So we are going to go step by step and do MLA and APA citations for database articles, websites, and eBooks, showing you, okay, let's make a citation. Luckily, some of our tools actually have a built-in tool that already gives us most, or if not all of the citation. We just have to double check it. Okay. But we sometimes, for a lot of sources, have to manually make citations. Oh, who's on the phone?
It's my mom. Mom, you want to say hi to everybody?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, a package came.
Oh, okay, thanks. A package came, everyone. Thanks, Mommy. Gotta go. Okay, bye-bye. There you go. The mommy anthem's in there. There we go.
I love it.
Information mom.
Information mom. So, and we're going to also explain the parts of the citation, because a citation, it's like, I feel like in helping with students and fellows, like, let me know if you notice the same thing. It seems like obvious stuff, but it's not obvious. It's kind of confusing. So today we're going to walk through bit by bit and just kind of model it out and explain to you what each part is. And, you know, that'll probably help it stick and click. Okay. We want it to stick
and click. And Ross, why are we doing citations? What is the major citation is going to be like a major props, right? You want to say exactly where you got it from. And if we take a large view, if something happened or something in your life, you'd always want to give credit, right? When you always want to say whose idea that was, or hey, who came up with that, or right? I mean,
of course, that's
basic conversation, right?
That's how ideas get shared. Is especially in academic worlds, like this is where the ideas get spread. You know, one person bases their research off somebody else's research, and then that research gets, picked up by somebody else. So we're giving credit, but we're also sharing those ideas in our own work. You know, I mean, even when you go to your job someday, part of your duty as the author is to share your sources so that people can go and learn a little bit more about this. They can verify your claims, all that kind of stuff. And another part of what we're doing too is you're just providing evidence by citing your sources. You're saying, hey, because I read this source, that's why I think this.
And on that note, let's backtrack just a minute. Because I read which source? Where can I find that source? What is the name of that source? What is the date of that source? And we'll get into more of that. But it is a very specific thing, including the page number, including a web link if it's online, because somebody might want to find that information. They may want to continue the conversation. And yes, we're using these. We use citations or references all the time. I mean, you think about popular music. If someone's like shouting someone out in a song of like, hey, this is a remix, and this is, I want to, send a shout out to this person. Like, we're always saying where that information came from. It's just now in the academic level here at college, we need to put all of the information, whether it's an idea or a thought or a direct quote, into our paper. And then it needs to be exact, meaning, yes, you do have to put a little period, a little comma, a little format. But as I always say, it's the same thing as if you're writing a letter. You didn't know how to write a letter before, but now you know. The name's going to come first, and then you're going to have the street number and the street name, and then you're going to have the city and then the state and the zip code. If you rearranged all of that, do you think the recipient would get that letter? I don't think so. I think the postal person would go, nah, we're sending that back. Why? Because that's the format. That's the format, and that's what we're talking about today. Unfortunately, or fortunately, there's a few different formats that we can use here, and so we'll talk about two of those. And in fact, Ross has a little bit. I've changed my name today. Instead of information, I am Citation Jason.
I love it.
I love that, right? And then so Ross has a little bit of a citation there too. So let's start there, Ross. Why did you? What do you got there? What is that?
Well, what I did was I kind of just took the basic premise behind APA citation, where you're going to have some identifying information about your source. And in this case, I made myself the author or creator there, and the date that this information was created. Well, today, I mean, 2023, that works. And then I titled my source library because I titled my name library too. So what I did there was I just took all those pieces of information and put them into this formula we're going to be kind of examining today.
Yeah. And think about, again, in real terms, in real life, when you're thinking of stories or when you're thinking of something, who told you that? Where'd you get that information from? As soon as you hear something, oh, did you hear that they went to the movies together? Who told you that? Oh, did you hear this thing just the stock market just crashed? Where'd you hear that? What's the source? Because we're always testing out that credibility. We always want to know what the source is. But now if we're actually putting that information into our paper, you're going to want to state exactly. So for instance, what if you're bragging, I just have $400 in the bank account or whatever. All right, what bank? What are we talking about? How can we get verification
What
of
bank?
that?
What's your PIN?
What's the PIN number? How do I get that money?
What year were you born?
But you want to say what it is. You want to say, again, think about where do you use citations or references in real life? I think we use them all the time. I think we get a little confused and anxiety driven here at academia only because of these formats that we're talking about today. Why do I have to put that in? Well, because you've taken something from what someone else has done and called it as your own. You can't do that unless you start giving credit, and that's what we're talking about with the citation. So we're on APA. We'll get into it in a moment. In the chat, I put a major link that I use all the time. That's APA, so that's the American Psychological Association, and that one has a really good framework for doing your own sort of modules and activities that'll help you just by plugging in the information. But again, I mean, we can always start. There has to be an author. Even if that author is a collective, someone wrote this information, or you have to wonder, who wrote this information? Where did this come from? It didn't just come out of nowhere. Computers, they're not just making it on their own. AI chatbot or not, okay? They're not just making it on their own. They can't. Anyway, go ahead, Nicole.
So, do we want to do like a database article first? Ross, do you have a database article pulled up?
I do. I ran a search.
EXAMPLE-FEST-A-THON-A-PALOOZA, coming to the fairground, coming to the raceway this Thursday.
All right, so Ross, do you want me to add your screen share to the
Sure.
Okay.
I am prepared. So, I mean, this is a database. This is a pretty typical database. It's
That's a good one.
The Academic Search Complete database, one you will probably use at some point in your experience here. But when you run a search here and you find a source that looks pretty good, one of the things we can do is we can have the database help us generate a citation. Now, when I click the article's link, because it brings us to this page where right here, everything it tells me right in that highlighted information is stuff I'm going to need to make my citation. So that's good. We're going to come back to that. But the database itself also has a feature in it. In my right-hand little tools column over here, there's a Cite button that's going to show us what a citation should more or less look like. And when we scroll through here, we were talking about APA. So here is what, in my reference list, this is what my citation would look like for this source.
Now, remember,
there's some problems here.
Yeah, there's some problems here.
Yeah, that's the.
Oh wait, is there there's a problem here? I'm all on it with the videos today, guys.
Media master Nicole.
There we go.
All right.
Fine.
So, yeah, I mean, the trade-off here is like it does a lot of the work for you. These citation generators are great at putting things in the right order, and they're usually pretty accurate. but they're only as good as the information that was put into the database, right? So sometimes it's going to spit out information that isn't exactly what we want, or at least not formatted exactly the way we want. So we're still going to have to know how to build these ourselves a little bit too. But by and large, a citation is going to have all of the same elements, no matter what. If we're dealing with an article, it's going to look pretty much identical to this all the time, where we're going to have our authors, and we're going to have the date it was published, and we're going to have our article's title and the journal name, since this is an academic journal, that's who published it. And we've got our volume and issue and pages, and then they have a DOI thing down here if they give it to us good. That's everything we need for a citation.
But
What?
let's go in there and let's take a look. So when you're writing in real life, are all of your names capitalized all the time? So I'd say
I was going
no.
to say, is that the author's last name and first initial? Like, what's going on there?
Right.
That is, yes, that is what we're seeing there. And that was one of the reasons I picked this one, is because these names are not familiar to me. Because this is Japanese research and all. So I wasn't even 100% sure of how it was going to be formatted and all. So I think it is still the last name and first initial. That's correct. But as Jason noted, this is not correct.
So that's
No
one
citation style
Copy and
does that.
paste it. If you copy and paste it, you're going to have to, and like the link that Jason posted, like the citation, another citation source, it's going to tell you, it would show you, you're not like, just like when you write your name out, you capitalize the first letter of your last name, the first letter of your first name, but not all the other letters. So you could copy and paste this, but once again, you're going to have to massage it a little.
Yes. And then the next thing is, because we're in APA, we have to look at something called sentence case. What does sentence case mean, Ross?
Well, when you're writing things out here, you're going to write it as if you were writing like a paragraph, where only the first letter is going to be capitalized of the title, and or proper names and things like that. And that's a differentiating thing between some of the other citation styles. When you see it, it's kind of one of the first things I notice. I go, oh, nothing is capitalized here. That tells me something. So when we look at it here, that's pretty typical sentence casing.
Agreed.
For an article.
And if you have a colon in there somewhere attached between humans and dogs, colon, then you would go to the very next letter, which you would capitalize as well. So again, we're talking APA very specifically. We should also mention that different disciplines are married to different citation styles. So this would be like your history, for example, could be an APA. Your English, ENC 1101, 1102, for example, would be an MLA. Another note, we might be going fast. We can always come back. By the way, that's all caps. Another note is that you have to get caught up to speed on your additions. So these change over time, just like everything changes over time. And so you have MLA 9 and you should be on APA 7, but make sure that you take a look at that on each one. And this is just EBSCO. This is just one of the databases that we have. It could change on different times, but we're talking APA, and this looks okay with a few minor adjustments.
So for APA, we have the title of the article that's not italicized. And then the next title we have is the title of the journal in which the article was published. And that is italicized. So we'd want to double check that to make sure that that part is supposed to be italicized. And then is it issue and volume or volume and issue?
It's the volume and the issue number. And
Correct.
those are always butted. So if you can you zoom in just a little bit more, Ross?
I think it can.
Thank you. There's a difference between, and clearly there is, but we should take note of it. There's a difference between the periods and the commas, and they are in the right place. So make sure you follow the right place. Why? Because it's the format. That's the format, and let's follow it. And you'll notice that. And then you'll notice also the 51 in this example is still italicized, and it's butted up against the parentheses. That is purposeful. That is a purposeful butt. That is right up against there. So make sure to. There we go. Anyway, today's quote of the day is purposeful butt.
Purposeful butt.
It's right up against there. There are no PP, no page numbers, any of that stuff here for 209 to 221.
But that is the page numbers. It just doesn't have the
correct.
PPs. Okay.
That is the page range. Yep. The only problem that I see on the end here is what is that .x? It should end in a dot, but what's the x? And I'm seeing it consistently on Chicago and the next one. So I'm wondering, Ross, if that's part of the DOI URL and if we should plug it in and test it.
I think it is. I think that whole thing is going to be part of the DOI, and we can test it. That's kind of the beauty of this DOI is theoretically that number is always going to work if we have access to it. So I'm just going to pop it into just a general web search here, and
there it is. As the song says, whoop, there it is. And notice, my friends, Ross, if you can scroll in, this was entered onto this Wiley online library, the names of the authors as all caps. So that's where it came from. That's where it came from, my friends. And you'll verify the URL is legit. And in APA, if we go back to the example, there is no period at the end of the web link. No period at the end of the web link. So we tucked this as needed. So far, the guts look pretty good. Would your professor in the class definitely know the thing of the thing of the thing? Why risk it?
Why risk it? Don't get the points off. It's so easy. People get points off for not doing citations exactly perfectly all the time.
Yep.
Now, is APA in this list? Because this is a big scrolly list. It's a lot to scroll. Because I'm sorry, MLA.
MLA is in the list, definitely.
MLA, yeah.
Let's take a look. So many of the library databases that we offer that are included in your tuition when you're taking classes have the same sort of three, the big three. We're omitting Chicago, but Chicago and then MLA and APA. Once again, what course are you taking? It depends on what course you're taking, what discipline you're in, different disciplines and different things. I never encounter Vancouver, by the way, but I never say never because someone will come in automatically and go, hey, where's Vancouver? As soon as I said it. So I'm expecting a phone call.
Oh, wait, someone's in the chat.
When I work for the global chat service, I do see some of these other citation styles, and I have to fumble around because I don't use them.
But we can take a look. It's the same information. It's just a little bit different. But let's focus then on the MLA, and we can compare the two, right?
Yeah. So we've got an author, but something is different about the author presented MLA versus okay.
Right.
So
there's
we talked about et al. The other day when we were talking about Caesar.
Yeah.
In Latin, right?
Yeah, it's Latin.
So I dropped one in the, and what does it mean? And everyone?
It means literally and others.
And others.
It means the first author and then some other people.
For sure. I dropped one in the chat there. I would use these two. The one that I put in the chat earlier for APA, I would use this definitely. This is the style guide for the MLA 9th edition handbook. Beware, you may find some of the citation generators on library databases or in the World Wide Web, MLA 8, MLA 7, MLA 6. Now, I mentioned money earlier. Do you want to know how much money you had in your bank account 4 years ago or now? Exactly. So you want the latest current update information. So the reason this is et al. Here and not et al. In APA is because APA expanded it in their 7th edition up to, I believe, 20 to 22 people. So you can literally have 22 names. MLA, not the case. As we saw, we had 3 authors there, so we could do it here, right? And so we only get the lead author, which is the first. Another thing to note is before we only had the first letter of the first name. Now we do not. Now we expand, so we still use the format last name, comma, first name, and then it looks like there's a comma. Remember, the commas and the periods matter, just like the decimal point. If I'm going to write, to go back to money, if I'm going to write Ross a check for 1.00 and I mess that decimal point over 2 spaces, I just cut him $100 check, and I don't want to do that because I don't have that. So I go
bounce
back there.
Overdraft fees.
Okay? So we have the et al. Period. Now, this is not sentence case anymore because we're in MLA and we've added quotations. That's new, but that's specific to MLA. So
and that's the title of the article.
Correct.
And these are similar, where the Japanese psychological research is in italics, and then we did put out vol period. We did put out no period for number. I don't know. Maybe back in the day, the MLA people said, "Oh, we're lazy. Just put vol. Just put no." Maybe. Who knows? I'm kidding. And then we did put in September of 2009. If you remember the APA, that was closer. That was closer to the very beginning, but it's still in there. As we mentioned, PP for page range is going to be an MLA. Same numbers. EBSCOhost was not. Was it in the earlier one?
It was not. APA does not require the database information.
So they don't require it. So again, the format is going to change from different things. It's like here's a baseball, but here's a softball. pretty much the same game. It'll change just a little bit. And then on this, you'll note, which I talked about earlier, there is a period on the end of that X because that is MLA citation. The only other thing that's maybe a problem on this, I'll throw it over to Ross. What would be the only thing that could be missing on here based on an ENC professor's preferences?
Well, I think what you mean maybe is MLA doesn't require, but it recommends for a lot of online sources to have an access date on the end of it there. And some professors that I work with require that too. It's good practice for online stuff that might change periodically on there, even though it's not required. So that's why it's not part of this citation there. But that is something to pay attention to. If your professor has examples, go with those examples.
Go with those examples, have the conversation, check the syllabus, all of the above. But yes, that was what I was going for, Ross.
And this is a little thing that some professors kind of have a sticking point on, because technically MLA asks for the database name that you used, and this is the company. It's not necessarily wrong, but sometimes a couple of professors that I work with would prefer the students use the actual name of the database. So if we chose Academic Search Complete, that might go there in place of EBSCOhost. But that's the only other really nitpicky thing about it.
Okay.
Otherwise, it's perfect.
So just a reminder to students, in every citation for a database article, there's 2 titles. And because I do see students can get confused by this, so I'm just making sure. There's the title of the article and the title of the journal that the article is published in. There also, in MLA, is the title of the database. So now that's 3 titles here in MLA. And those numbers information, the volume, number 51.3, those are numbers that describe exactly which publication of the Japanese Psychological Research Journal that particular article, Attachment Between Humans and Dogs, is in.
Yeah.
So
let's put it like this, and let's clear out the screen and just have our faces on so we can really have an honest in real life talk. Hey, I found this information where the internet. That conversation's over. Here's another conversation. Hey, I found that information. Oh, really? Yeah, it was in a journal. Which journal? Okay, keep having the conversation. Oh, it was in the Japanese, I forget what it was called, psychological research. Okay, great. Do you know that that's published X amount of times each year for 400 years? Which journal were you talking about? Oh, it was volume 10. Well, did you know that there were 12 different issues for that? Which issue? And you can see where I'm going, okay? Hey, I want you to meet my friend Jeff. Jeff who? You know Jeff. He always sings the songs. What? Who are you? Be specific in your citations. It's very important in case your professor wants to find more information and check you, right? In case another scholar, okay, what if this gets published? That you're creating new knowledge. What if someone else wants to read this information? Where are they going to go? We need the exact information, which always goes back to the example that I gave for the writing a letter. We need all the information. All right, so eBooks, what's the diff?
Okay, so I see Ross, you took off your screen share, so I luckily have mine. I know, I was like, it's on game. It's okay. So I went to from the library homepage, I clicked on databases, and we're gonna pull up an ebook database. Luckily, a lot of or most, if not all of the ebook databases, and you'll see this one is owned by EBSCO, so it's gonna look very similar. This has a tool in it, just like what we just looked at in Academic Search Complete or Premier, Academic Search Complete, that gives you the citation. So that's helpful. But once again, as Jason and Ross explained in depth, we are needing to. Is somebody laughing? Oh,
no, nobody's laughing. For the last 25 minutes, there hasn't been a crack of laughter.
I'm going to pull up an ebook, and remember, we need to double check this. So I pulled up this ebook. Okay, it says here resource type ebook, so I know that's what I'm needing to cite. And also over here on the right hand side, I can click on Cite, just like we did in the other database. And a different company database might look a little bit different, but it basically has the same elements, and you're going to find them either on the right or the left. And so here we are, we see this scroll down menu, and there are some different elements that we would need to have in a ebook citation, and it looks a little bit shorter, guys, right?
Yes, and I don't know if it looks complete.
Well, actually, with APA as an example, they don't actually differentiate between an ebook or a physical book. It's just a book, however you accessed it.
Right. And then, but what if your professor, what if you want to find the ebook? Where's the link? Is there a link?
Well, not in this APA citation. So that would be something to double check on. This helpful, where is it? It's in the comments on this helpful URL that you shared earlier.
The APA style, yeah.
Yep.
All right.
Absolutely. And that would be available here, and I'll put the more specific link in there as well.
Yeah. So we've got an author, and it looks like to me, this is first name, then last name, which is different from what I'm expecting to see and what we saw in articles.
Yeah, that's a little different.
Yep. No good.
A
It's
year
already
of,
bad.
a year of publication in parentheses, a publisher name. Yeah, no, I'm sorry. The title of the book, and then a publisher name.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Title
I'm gonna stick with the APA on the website there. I just dropped a link in the chat. If it was an ebook, I would definitely, as a librarian speaking like this, put the web link in. I definitely would. And if your professor has an issue with that, let's open the conversation. Why would you not want the link to the ebook, professor? So it looked like the APA needed a little help on that. You do not have the full name. You don't have the full name spelled out first and last name, and you don't have it first and last. It's always last name, comma, first initial, period, and then you start in with your date. So no good on that one.
And then for MLA, yeah.
Let's take a look. So I'm going to toggle back over. I'll find you the MLA citation by format. This is for MLA. Check the chat for that, and let's take a look.
So still, we're looking at, now we have title, going straight, I'm sorry, author, going to the title of the book, then going to the publisher, and then the date of year of publication is in a different place than we saw in APA, okay? And then here we go, we have the vendor or database name, ultimately not the actual specific database, but the database vendor name, and a link. And like it's not this is not a DOI, a digital object identifier per se, because that's not in this thread, but it's a link essentially. So yeah, that would be MLA, and that's what it shows for MLA for an ebook. Okay, but once again, like Jason's saying, hey, this doesn't check out. We've got to double check it. That is, once again, Jason said the periods matter, the spaces matter, the commas matter. That's why this tool is here for you. So it helps, but it's your responsibility to make sure that it is correct. Yeah, and we have copies of these. We have hard copies, and we also have available online resources on our website, seminolestate.edu/library. But I wanted to just send you right to the direct source for both of these. And these are the ones that I use. And some of them have the templates, and you could just kind of plug and play. And I think that this is a really good overview example on our Citation Festival-A-Palooza-A-Thon, a marathon of festival to Palooza. Yes, that. For what we're doing. And you want to do websites? Okay, websites. We promised we do an APA and an MLA citation for at least one website, because this is a little bit different because we don't have these pre-made tools like that we saw in the ebook. Let's find one. Let's do it. Do you want to pull up one, Jason, and share yours? Well, I was looking on the two sites. I guess. What are we looking at? We're just gonna share your screen. Can you share your screen? Yeah, let me take a look and see here. Hold on. We'll pull up the right one. All right, we got it. What was that? All right, so on one of the MLA, so one of the links that I put in here is going to be the MLA Style Center. That's style.mla.org, and you can scroll down here. We did have books available. Online works could be there, right? You may have a book on a website. Here's an article on a website. So this would be the example to kind of choose from. I'll maximize the view there. And again, you're going to see it's very similar to the other MLA.
full last name, comma, full first name, period. And then remember what we had before. You'll remember the quotation marks was the title, right? So that's still there. There's a period here to close that. The container where we got it from is going to be, in this case, the Atlantic, which was italicized before. So very similar. This one includes the actual published date, because this would have been published on a specific day, not just saying all of December 2014. And once again, here is the URL. Something to note, my friends, for MLA. MLA does not want or like in the chat www dot. So you'll notice that is why there is no www dot on this. But for some reason, when you scroll down here to the examples, if you're taking a look and playing the home game, here is the www on the journal article in a database. So someone has to question MLA, because I see a discrepancy there, but we don't have time to get into that ball of wax. I would omit the www dot. But anyway, that's a book on a website.
But what about a citation for just a basic, like a website? So,
and again, it depends, Nicole, on what that's going to be. So for an example, here's a song on a website. Same thing. Snail Mail is the name of the musical artist. That's going to be there for the band. There's a period, very similar to what we saw before. We don't want to overcomplicate this. This was the name of the article earlier. This is the name of the song now. Both in quotes. Remember earlier, the container where we got it from is in italics. Where we got it from now is Bandcamp. And once again, we've omitted that, and we got the full website there, except for the http://www, and then it has a period. More examples can be found there at style.mla.org. We also have them available on the library website. And if we toggle over, how do I share what do I go back? You have to take me out and I'll switch back over. It's not letting me. Oh, stop sharing. Oh, and then I have to share the screen again.
Oh yeah, because if you pick like the tab versus the whole screen versus the thing.
So now I'm sharing, and we're back on add to the stream. So now we're back on APA style. This is great. Again, apastyle.apa.org. Under style and grammar, you can go to the different examples here. And so you probably want to go to references, and the different styles are available here. So I think you were looking for reference examples,
like for a basic website.
And I think you have to drill down and find out what that one is.
And like you said, like you could, if you're pulling a song from a website, an article from a website, but you do have to make those completely yourself. So you have to identify the elements and then pick them all out.
So here's online media. So that's where I found it. It took me a moment, but I found it. So web page on a website references. Again, they're going to give you the full example once you click on it. Here's a web page on a news site, and you'll notice, once again, the major takeaways from today. MLA is full name. APA is not. Last name, comma, first letter, period. Here's the date in APA format, meaning it's the year, comma, the month and the day, and they are in parentheses here. Earlier, for the MLA, it's down somewhere else in the middle. Now, once again, sentence case for MLA, meaning only the W is here. But because it's on a website, now what happened? Now we've switched. Now the name of the page is in italics, and now where we got it from, the website, is not in italics. We have the full website here with no period on the end. That's how we would do that. And those are the examples for a website for citations in APA. So the links are in the chat. Please pay attention, because all of the bells and whistles, i.e. the periods, the commas, where the placement is, it's very important. You do not want to go to college and get your degree, and you look at your degree that's printed out and your name is misspelled, do you? Do you want there to be errors on that? No. You want it to be perfect. You want everything to be perfect, and we're closing the show, and we have to wrap up. So we'll see you next time. This has been a Citation Palooza Festival Falafel.